my dream was quite different. I was thinking about drug discovery, working in a research organization and all that. They say, Dr. Ochieng, you're going to the airport. Yeah. So you're going to man the main entry point, the airport. And you don't know what it entails. So you learn and you do it. Yeah. I believe in professionalism, integrity, and of course, I believe in people. There's this song they say, if it was judgment day and the Lord asked you what you did with your life, I think that's what you asked me. Then I would say, okay, I did A, B, C, D, and was that A, B, C, D worthy of that time? Then kidogo, you've been given an opportunity to head the inspectorate, and all this noise in the media, there are counterfeit drugs, there's what.
Welcome to Daktari Tone, where voices, perspectives, and sounds relating to healthcare practitioners and matters health are amplified. This is a podcast by Daktari Online, created for healthcare professionals across Kenya. Each episode brings you honest conversations, expert insights, and real-life stories from the front lines of care. Hello and welcome to the Daktari Tone podcast, where voices, perspectives, and sounds of healthcare practitioners are amplified. I'm your host, Rian Hilary Kerubo, and today we're joined with Dr. Wilfred Ochieng, the Director of Pharmacy Practice at the Pharmacy and Poisons Board. He's a pharmacist, a policymaker, and regulator whose career has spanned in community pharmacy industry and for over 2 decades of public service. Karibu Daktari Tone podcast, and thank you so much for having us.
Asante sana.
You can take this opportunity to tell us more a little bit about yourself.
Okay, you already mentioned my name, Wilfred Ochieng Oguta. I'm a pharmacist by profession. Although, I think my career basically has been involved in working as a pharmacist. And as you mentioned, I started my career, of course, after graduating from the University of Nairobi with a Bachelor of Pharmacy degree, and then going through the normal process, internship, being registered as a pharmacist, and of course, basically I've been in public service kind of throughout my career. So we've seen quite some change, and I think within that time, of course, through self-improvement, I ended up doing an MBA and also another master's degree in the technical fields of pharmacy, so that just to improve myself and to be able to serve better. So in summary, I can say basically throughout this career, I've worked most of it in regulation, where I started as a young pharmacist posted to work for the government. I was at the ministry headquarters. That time, I think the pharmacists in public service were quite few. I think the private sector was more attractive. Yeah. So we joined that thin team, and that was why I rose quite fast to become the head of the pharmaceutical inspectorate. There were 2 inspectorates, of course. There was a team that used to work. There are people who were basically in public service but did not have a pharmacy background, but they were working as drug inspectors. So there's that cadre under the ministry. But when we joined with a few colleagues, we were posted as pharmaceutical inspectors, which was occasioned by a change which had been made in legislation to introduce people called pharmaceutical inspectors. So that's where we started, grew. And then within that span of over 20 years. Yeah. Able to, I've also taken on other responsibilities. Yeah. I can mention I've acted as a deputy registrar, which was more or less a very senior position in this establishment under Pharmacy and Poisons Board. I've also worked as the first head of what now is called Corporate Services Directorate. We used to call it Business Support Services. Yeah. Then I think the latest where I worked is now as the Director of Pharmacy Practice. This docket basically is equivalent to what you'd call equivalent of what would be a pharmacy council, yeah? Because it involves regulation of the profession, right from training through registration and through the regulation of the career of the two cadres that the Pharmacy and Poisons Board regulates, that is pharmacists and pharmaceutical technologists. Of course, we also license people to work as pharmaceutical representatives. These are people who are basically involved in marketing of products. But being director of pharmacy practice, again, it does not limit my work, because still, Pharmacy and Poisons Board has a dual mandate. We regulate the profession, but we also regulate health products and technologies. So even when you hear our name, Pharmacy and Poisons, yeah, pharmacy refers to that's more of the profession, yeah, and then poisons, that's ndio dawa, sumu. I know that name is a bit unique for this country. Yeah? People say poisons. It even becomes difficult for some people to pronounce. Yeah. So I'm still involved in aspects of, once a regulator, always a regulator. So even regulation of products, I'm still technically involved. Yeah. Thank you.
That shows a journey of leadership, being a regulator and a policymaker. But what about now you as a pharmacist, the practice? For how long have you practiced as a pharmacist?
I think I can still work in community pharmacy. I can work in a hospital pharmacy setup. But sometimes you do something for so long that adjusting or juggling between all that is not easy. Yeah. Community pharmacy is one area where let me say we got the exposure, and even right from college we were inducted into community practice. You could still do community pharmacy practice over the weekends during free times, but as you grow older you realize that life is not all about work, so you have to prioritize where you spend your time. And I think for me, most of my career has been here in government here.
And also that tells us that you've been in you've seen this institution, the Pharmacy and Poisons Board, in its past, now present, and even now the future that is coming. And of course that means you've seen a lot of changes, a lot of impact, things that had to be sewn into the current state that we are in as a country. But then when we hear pharmacy, and in fact Poisons Board, as you just had even told us, it's hard for some people to even say the state, we often think of inspections, enforcement. We even talked about, of course, again, being a regulator, there's penalties. So, but then before we get into policy, and you've also delved deeper in, from training all the way to your leadership journey. Who is Dr. Wilfred beyond just, being all the caps that you have worn at PPB?
Yeah. Well, that's an interesting question. Who is Dr. Ochieng? Yeah. From my perspective, it's not an easy thing to be asked to describe yourself. Yeah? Well, I can say outside the professional work, let me use this one because there's somebody who usually refers to says I'm an adult male of sound mind. And of course, Okay. I am married. Yeah, so I have a family. I have both the nuclear and the extended family. I socialize, I have friends. And what I can say is that, what do I say about myself?
Your
I think
values, yeah.
my values, all right. I believe in professionalism, yeah, integrity, and of course, I believe in people because I've been working with the people for most of my life, and learn a lot. Believe in learning a lot from people as we move through this life, and I also believe that things are not supposed to be stagnant. Change is the only constant thing. There's always change. So I'm quite adaptive. And there are so many adjectives I can use depending on the context. But just to say that I believe also in excellence. So part of what during work I would strive for is excellence. Yeah. Outside work, I have hobbies. I think of late I like exercising. Yeah. To the extent that I put targets so that, yeah, this the basic one is daily steps. Yeah. They say you can't remain stagnant.
What's your daily target?
I do at least 10,000 steps, but the times I've done most of the time I do much more. Yeah. Can do even up to 30,000 in a day. I think my record is around 33,000 in one day.
So that means you walk a lot.
Yeah.
Just within the office or outside the office?
No, at the office you can't walk. This is a restricted space. You have to go out there. So I also believe in outdoors. Yeah. There are some hobbies you try to develop, then time becomes restrictive. Yeah. So, yeah.
Okay. And what personally, motivates you?
What motivates me? Wow. Again, things change. And my motivation is that I want to make a difference and lead a life that is, when I look back, yeah, then you can say, there's this song they say, if it was judgment day and the Lord asked you what you did with your life, I think that's what you asked me. Then I would say, okay, I did A, B, C, D, and was that A, B, C, D worthy of that time? Yeah, because time is one thing that you cannot regain. Yeah. So what motivates me is, I said, excellence. I want to do something that will make a difference. Yeah. And of course, I believe in God. So let me leave it at that.
Okay.
Yeah.
Now I'm going to take you back to, your youthful times, back in campus.
Yeah.
I have, with my research, I found out that you joined the University of Nairobi in the 1990s. And I would like to know, at that time when you look back, what stood out for you?
Life of a student, it's usually nostalgia to visit. Nostalgic, I mean, to revisit the life of a student. Well, I joined the University of Nairobi in the mid-90s. Let me put it that way. Those days things were a bit different also, because for us who went to university at that time, university education, I can say, was not exactly what it is right now, because University of Nairobi alone, I think it was the only university that was offering a Bachelor of Pharmacy in this country. And the number of students per class, I don't think there was any class that was beyond 30. Most of the classes between 20 to 30. And of course, life, we joined at that time when, the dream where people were saying, when you join the university, life is so sweet. The government sponsors everything. You eat well. You're even given boom. By the time as we joined, that was not there. So we can say we're some of the people who joined early enough when, what do you used to call it? It was pay as you eat. Pay as you eat. Yeah, where you had to struggle. I think You get your loan, and then you have to learn how to budget with it to take you through that particular semester. And it is up to you to decide what you want to eat based on your budget. So we learned quite a lot in terms of being independent. Of course, the mischief of the university was also interesting. The 1990s was also a time of a lot of change in this country, in politics, so student activism, strikes, and all that kind of stuff. But I can say we had a good experience learning and outside class. It was quite interesting.
Actually, for talking numbers, you've mentioned that at that time we even had less, students taking pharmaceutical studies, pharmacists being pharmacists.
Yeah, who was studying the Bachelor of Pharmacy.
But then still again, if I get this right, it was a male-dominated, at that time. But then now we see the numbers changing. As of now, 2025, we've seen 42% of women are now coming up, especially now in the specificity of pharmacy-based studies and even career. What can you say about that shift?
Yeah, that's interesting, because you are right. During our time, the ladies in class were less than the males. I think in our class, we graduated 29 of us, and only 3 were ladies. So you can see how imbalanced it was. But it is also true that now the tide is actually shifting. In fact, I'm a member of FIP. FIP in full is International Federation of Pharmacists. Yeah, so that is a global umbrella membership body for pharmacists. In one of the sessions, a study conducted by FIP reported that by 2030, by 2050, almost 70% of pharmacists will be women.
Why? What was that?
And I can't really remember what was the root cause, for that change that they're predicting. What would be driving that? But looking at the trends over the years, and even comparing what you just mentioned in Kenya, we have we're already seeing that shift, that the number of women is going up steadily. Yeah, of course, the number of colleges are also going up steadily. So I can say that maybe there's something about pharmacy practice that is attractive to the female,
to the ladies now.
Yeah.
But then at that time, what was happening? For the fact that 29, 3 out of 29 were only female. What was happening at that time?
Well, I think it was about awareness. Yeah, because if I can talk about what I knew at that time, by the way, even for me, it was like a last-minute decision to choose. We used to choose the courses you want to go and study, and then you have your number 1 up to number 4. It was also based on performance, and I think the cut-off points, if you're talking about 20-something, it was it had the highest cut-off points for entry. So there was an entry barrier, which probably at that time could have not, maybe that did not favor the ladies. I just guess so. Then there's also the issue of awareness, because I was saying, like, our school, the school I came from, we only had, I was the only one. Yeah. And when this awareness came to us, then it was like, if you guys choose this, so and so will get, so and so may not get. So you have to choose the courses you are applying for wisely. Otherwise, utarushwa, let me use that word. By that time, it was called the Joint Admissions Board, the predecessor of what is now KUCCPS. Yeah, you will be thrown to any other course, something like that.
Okay, so that means your thought process is, now we have more awareness for the ladies, and something that we don't know what's attracting them to it, because 70%, if that study is true, that's
2050.
Hey, that's a huge number. It is Now, you've also worked in marketing, community, pharmacies, and industry-facing roles. So, am I right? You're smiling like I'm wrong.
No, that was just a brief stint before I was posted to, yeah. That was very brief. Nothing much to talk about that.
Okay. But then still, if you could mention how important if you could like talk to the young pharmacists, what is that important thing, that linear path they would appreciate?
Well, I think that is a very difficult question because, people, as I told you, sometimes when you are young, you may think this is what I want. Or sometimes it just happens by accident that you find yourself in a particular area. But having that fixed mind that I want to be this and this must happen, sometimes is quite limiting. Because, a pharmacist with an undergraduate degree, your training is quite broad. Yeah, you're like, I don't want to use a scientific term, those cells, initially they can be transformed into anything, yeah? Yeah, when you look at it like an embryo, or not even before you go to the embryo, when a human being is formed. So there are some cells which can be transformed into something. So the potential is quite great, and interests also vary. So initially, maybe if I use myself as an example, if you asked me what I wanted to do when I was applying to go for a Bachelor of Pharmacy course, my dream was quite different. I was thinking about drug discovery, working in a research organization and all that. Yeah, there are multiple career pathways in pharmacy. The most common ones basically is community pharmacy practice. I think that's where you get majority of pharmacists. All the pharmacies you see in Kenya and around the world, that is what we call community pharmacy. Then hospital pharmacy practice, where again there's potential to specialize at postgraduate level in different specialties, clinical pharmacy, which again you have even subspecialties and all that. Industry, again, industrial pharmacy, and then there are other areas even of subspecialization. So it depends more on the interest and the exposure that somebody has. So it can come as an initial career decision, or you may find yourself that you're in some place or some space where you want to pursue something further. So for me, I know sometimes, as I mentioned probably earlier on as we were talking, that you see, like initially in Kenya, there's a time when pharmacists were few, and the money was more of in in the private sector. Yeah. In the 1990s, very special time in Kenya, at the time when we had this thing of liberalization of the economy, and then now you started getting so many community pharmacies coming up. People are buying medicines from community pharmacies more than the products they were getting in the supply chain of the hospitals. Yeah, so community pharmacy was very attractive, and a lot of people are like, I graduate, I go into community pharmacy practice. But as time goes by, everything keeps changing. And that's why I said change is the only thing that is constant. So you'll always get that what may look attractive as a path to pursue as a pharmacist now may not be the same thing in the next 10, 20 years. So for me,
that brings out someone needs to have adaptability, also be versatile.
Yeah. And of course, what is happening in the world. We can't forget technology. Yeah?
Oh, yes.
Technology is changing so fast. There's AI and all those things. How are they impacting on how people practice? Yeah. Even robotics. Yeah. Where people are talking about dispensing alone. Is that the role of a pharmacist? No. Yeah. You will actually translate into, you have to offer more human, more of the human aspect of practice than just a prescription you interpret and then tell somebody take like this. Beyond that can even be done by robots. But then that human interaction, I think. So there's quite a lot of change that may impact on the career choice of people. Yeah.
Okay. So one thing I'm catching, I'm getting through your journey from studies in UON all through now to even career choices and path. You even mentioned that when choosing units, you found yourself, not even knowing that you're going to choose pharmacy.
No, let me correct you. Not that I didn't know. At one point, the dreams of, and I'll tell you this, even when we talk to our kids, at the age of, when they're still in, what do you call it? Nowadays, it is PP1 to, yeah. When you talk to them at that time, or even in kindergarten, they'll start telling you interesting. I want to be a pilot. Yeah. I want to be an engineer, a lawyer. Then, and I was talking to my daughter recently after having heard what she said some years back. The last time I talked to her, she was telling me, I don't know. Yeah, this is somebody who's just turned into teenager. So you said, so what do you want to pursue as your career? Things are changing so fast. So even these people, they get confused. So it is never cast in stone. That's what I'm saying.
But then if you are starting today, which pharmacy path would tempt you now?
Well, let me put it this way. And probably for me, I don't regret the path that I chose.
Yes.
Yeah, there are times when you say that regulation is not easy, but what I can say, it has exposed me to, I'm kind of all round, because you interact with people across all the sectors of pharmacy practice. So regulation, as much as it's not easy, it exposes you to everything. So I don't regret that. And that's why when I went to do, the time I went to do a master's degree in the UK, and upon completion, I was being asked, you need to stay for a PhD. Then I was like, no, I have a job back at home, and I was given leave for this long, I need to go back. So I've had such a decision point here, where you have to ask yourself, do I proceed with studies and do something else, or I go back? But I chose to go back to my regulatory role. So I don't want to say I'll regret, but if something else comes up and I think I can still do it, it's not too late. Am I that old to change my career? It's never.
It's never too late. Yes. Now, talking about even career and jobs, and even you now choosing to go back to your regulatory, roles. Your first pharmacy job, was it exciting or terrifying?
I told you, for me, my life has been more regulatory, only in different positions. But for me, in my career, I've been plunged into the deep end. Without notice. I've had situations whereby, I'll give you an example. Like when I think I'd just been posted to work for the ministry, and specifically as an inspector. Then everybody else is taken for training. So there are some places people are going for 3 months training, and there are some areas that must still be manned. So they say, Dr. Ochieng, you're going to the airport. So you're going to man the main entry point, the airport. And you don't know what it entails. So you learn and you do it. So that's the kind of being plunged into the deep end. Then kidogo, you've been given an opportunity to head the inspectorate, yeah, and all this noise in the media. Oh, there are counterfeit drugs. Oh, there is what?
But is it noise
So,
really?
so yeah, because why I'm saying it's noise, whether it's justified or not justified, I'm not using the word noise in a bad bad way. Yeah, so it's all coming from wherever, and you have to. You find yourself in the middle. Yeah, so somebody calls you from the media. Oh, and I don't want to mention names. There are some very big names in the media. Your phone is ringing. I'm so and so from NTV. I'm so and so. Would you like to talk about this? Are you knowing there are those public service regulations and codes? Now you're supposed to, and whatever you say will be used against you. And some of these people are quoting figures when nobody has actually conducted some research to say these are the figures. So for me, I think I've had an opportunity to be plunged into fire and get out.
So it's both exciting and terrifying at the same time. It's bumpy. Today it's going to be smooth. Tomorrow it's going to be...
It's a whole roller coaster. Yeah, it depends on how you look at it. Yeah.
But then before you just now, John, because you've also mentioned about your life has mostly been on the regulatory, path. What originally drew you into that?
What drew me? Let me put it this way.
Especially at the PPV.
Let me put it this way. I said there are things you choose, and there are things that sometimes they can choose you.
Yes.
And for me, my personal story is at the time when I had finished my internship, before the posting came, I had a short stint as a company pharmacist for one of the local companies here. And then upon being registered, I was posted. So it was a choice. Do I take up the posting or do I continue with this job? And I remember my then boss asked me, called me to his office. I'm aware that you've been posted to go and work for the government. Yeah. Do you want to go or you want to stay? But the guy was very nice. Yeah. We are still friends up to now. He calls me. Yeah. Then I told him, no, I need to consider. Actually, Zanu proposed that you don't need to give me an answer now.
Think about it or sleep over it.
He gave me time to go and think. Then when that time expired, I came back and he asked me, so what's your decision? I said, okay, I think having considered everything, I think I want to take up that posting. And then in this public service, you see, like now I work for Pharmacy and Poisons Board. You're supposed to be somebody who can be posted to go and do any other work. The only thing is that if you are posted, there's something that's called service need. They think that you can serve there better. Yeah. Just the same way, let me put it at a higher level, even at a higher level of our bosses in the ministry. You can be moved from this ministry to another. They think you can handle that docket better. So it is not you. They look at you and they think this person can do a good job in this position.
Capable to do this.
Yeah, I think that's what drives it. So sometimes the only choice you have is if you don't want to go, what else? Yeah, what happens? Yeah. And I think it's the same thing even in the private sector anyway. If you are working for any other company and they decide, no, you are in operations, but we think you need to move you to so
the skill set is more. We find it that it's more likable or fit. You can do much better, or it's a good site. Well, it also shows growth and even pushes you to do better and work harder.
And wherever you're put, like now I was telling you about what I was calling baptism by fire. When you're put there and those challenges come, it's up to you to think and engage. What do I need to do to sort out this?
Now your problem solving skills should also come up, and decision making.
Yeah, which way to go, and it will all depend on how you handle those things going forward. Yeah.
Okay, and now when you joined, inspectors were not necessarily pharmacists. So how did that affect credibility and enforcement?
Yeah, as I said, the country was thin on the numbers of inspectors. We had drug inspectors, and I remember at that time, even some provinces, we had 8 provinces at that time. This constitution was not yet promulgated. So at the provincial headquarters, we had people who were drug inspectors. And you're talking about maybe one person per province, drug inspector. And then some provinces, you could get even 2 people covering, which means some people were retiring, but new ones were not being recruited, I think, at that time. Then inspection, again, that was more of the supply chain, what right now we call inspection of good distribution practices and all that. But there are other aspects which were also not taken care of. For example, this may be a mouthful, what we call good manufacturing practices, GMP. Kenya, in the African continent, we are one of the countries that is leading in the number of pharmaceutical manufacturers that are manufacturing locally or involved in local production of medicines. So we needed also inspectors who can keep the industry on its toes in terms of quality assurance and ensuring that whatever comes out of our factories meets international standards. So that's why they came up even with the pharmaceutical inspectorate. And even at that time, it was also thin in terms of numbers. So we started boosting the numbers, and we were trying to see how can we do this so that we are able to meet our compliance requirements. So that's it. So I know where you are driving to. Basically, I talked about a lot of noise, and then you're saying, how do we sort out this?
Yes.
From people complaining about the standards of medicines, illegal premises, or quacks, people who are not qualified, who are engaged in, quacks representing themselves like they know what they're doing. Yeah, mtu anakuambia meza mbili mara tatu. Mbili mara tatu kimeza mbili na mbili na mbili, sio ni mbili mara tatu. Yeah. But that's not the whole point. It's like people who will just tell you basics. They don't even understand what they're talking about. Yeah. And of course,
they lack the training.
And the risks. Yeah. The risks of substandard or falsified products getting to the market and all that. Yeah. So for me, when I became head of inspectorate, the team was thin. So we requested the board to appoint more people as pharmaceutical inspectors. These are people who are posted because they are working for the government already. They are not coming in as direct employees of PPB. And then the ministry also employed younger people who had at least diploma in pharmacy qualification as drug inspectors. Then we started building from there. That's what I'm trying to say. Yeah. Well, and we built to the extent that we also started inspecting, what do you call them? The foreign manufacturers of medicines. So if you are manufacturing outside Kenya and you are supplying here, we could also inspect you before you supply your products here.
Well, I believe you already answered my next question of why these changes were necessary, and for the fact that, of course, you being, in this space for over 20 years, where as I just had mentioned prior, you've seen the past, now being the present, and probably you're now making the next future. So, of course, in the fact that we now have the unifying of inspectorates, the professionalizing inspections, and creating a single chain of command, So I believe within your answer, you've already answered the fact that why that was necessary, and the fact that even the numbers then were really less, and the fact that now we had to add numbers for inspectors to even now curb, the list you've mentioned, from quackery to,
better presence in the market.
Yes.
Yeah, so that you know what is happening and you're able to try to enforce compliance.
Now, what is that toughest internal reform to sell?
Toughest to sell. I think when you're talking about reforms, you're talking about change. Yeah. And there are so many aspects of change that need to be implemented continuously, or not necessarily seamlessly, but maybe in small bits. Yeah, you make a small change here, gives an impact, because if you want to overhaul everything at once, of course the resistance will not allow you to, change must be resisted. And whenever you want to change something, the resistance will be there. At PPB, I think one of the greatest milestones that we have had is adopting technology. So we use technology to leverage our processes. From now, let me say, like licensing, it used to be manual. So you have a situation whereby somebody had to travel from wherever they are. If you're in Mandera or you are in Migori, Mombasa, then you have to travel to PPB, submit your application forms, wait for it to be evaluated. You are given a license, again manual, which you have to collect. Then it was a bit crazy, and we said, why don't we digitize? Of course, a lot of people had the fear of technology, but I must also admit that the steps taken by the Kenyan government to improve on technology, including even, Kenya is one of the countries that internet provision is quite, I think, I don't have the figures, but I know we are one of the highest in Africa. So that has actually been an enabler. Yeah. So people try to resist, but you can't resist technology. And then what it helps with in terms of delivery is that we also have a lot of data. Yeah. And looking at it futuristically, and you're probably already aware of digital health that the Ministry of Health is championing. We even have a whole digital health authority. And Kenya is talking about the digital superhighway, which is going to be an enabler for so many things, that is also going to help to solve a lot of our problems in terms of service delivery, ensuring that the right people offer the services that they're qualified to offer, they are licensed, management of products, like drugs, making sure that you're able to only dispense drugs that have been prescribed, the ones that must be prescribed, and all that. So resistance to technology has been there. But then again, there are other things which are necessary. I'm speaking from a pharmacy practice perspective. One of the things that we had to introduce was annual licensing. I think this was initially not there. Then we introduced it. People were like, they were used to, you've been given a registration once and that's it. So even if you move, that facility remains. But now the license has an expiry date. Every year you must renew. And there's a condition for renewal. You must have undertaken what we call CPD, continuing professional development, which comes in terms of maybe attending webinars which are educative and relevant to area of practice, being involved in research, attending conferences where topical issues that relate to practice are discussed and all that. And there's a minimum number of points that you must accrue for you to renew your license. At least that was also resisted a bit. Not a bit, it was resisted a lot, to the extent that we had to actually petition the board to reduce the number of points by half, from 40 to 20, to encourage uptake. Then we got lucky because technology also advanced very fast. You remember from the time of the COVID, do we still refer to the COVID era? 2020, yeah? That's when all this, it's called virtual meeting solutions, they blossomed, and so many of them came up. So people are able to attend meetings remotely. You can make presentations to thousands of people at the same time. So that has also boosted uptake of CPD. But you still have people who are resisting. You cannot be 100%. I think those are just examples of areas where we have encountered resistance, but you can see that they are progressive areas that we cannot ignore.
Okay. And now that brings us to the end of this section. So you've given us a great view of what the past was and the resistance that we've met in policy making, and the journey from from having inspectors, and the regulatory path. Yes. So for the next, we're going to talk about now what the pharmacy today looks like, and the road ahead. Now the future. We've talked about the past. Now we're on the present and the future of the state of pharmacy. Yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you.